Hello and welcome to the grammar module on parallel sentence structure. Let's begin with a quick definition of what that is. So parallel sentence structure, we also call it parallelism, is the structural organization of a sentence by making the different grammatical elements, verbs, adjectives, adverbials, phrases, and so forth parallel to one another. So this could be the case when we have a list of things that should be in a parallel format, or sometimes if we're comparing two things in two different clauses or phrases, where again the parallel structure will make it easier for someone to read. So here's an example from Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. Okay. So the two independent clauses that Dr. King combined here, and he was really a master at parallel sentence structure, okay, both begin with the subject in the first part, everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany. Compare that to everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary, followed by a verb, was, in both cases. And then in the first phrase, the term is legal. In the second one, it's illegal. Let me reiterate a little bit more the primary reason for doing that, because you might wonder, well, what's really the point to doing it that way? Okay? The point is really readability. So if a reader is reading something, the more organized, the more structured it is, the easier it will be for that person to understand what you're trying to say. And we're going to look at some examples in this module where it's going to become clear that if we don't aim for parallelism, sometimes it might be a little difficult to follow what a writer is trying to say. Okay. So to give you an example here, college students usually like their freedom, being away from their nagging parents, and they want to figure out what it's like to be a grown-up. So yes, we can read this, we can kind of understand what the writer's trying to say, okay? But look at the alternative to that. College students enjoy exploring their freedom, independence, and adulthood, okay? So here we have freedom, independence, adulthood. We have three nouns that are grammatically parallel to one another that make it really clear what we're trying to say. It's also a more concise sentence. Let's look at the exercises. So on the following slides, on the exercise slides, you will see a sentence that is not grammatically parallel. Okay, so it's going to be the case for all of them. So what I would like you to do, if you're watching this as a video, please pause it, give yourself enough time, revise the sentence, and then move on to the answer slide that will provide the answer with an explanation for you. All right, exercise 1. He is sweet and helpful, but he also gets into moods. So let's look at the structure in this sentence. He is sweet and helpful, but he also gets into moods. So here I've broken down this sentence and color-coded the different components. So he is the subject, is the verb. We have an adjective, sweet, then the coordinating conjunction, and. We have another adjective, helpful, then the coordinating conjunction, but, and then we have this independent clause. He also gets into moods. So the key here is that we start out with a subject, a verb, and then have adjective, coordinating conjunction, adjective, coordinating conjunction, so that independent clause at the end here, in order to become part of a parallel structure, has to be turned into an adjective that will then be parallel to helpful and to sweet. So the grammatically parallel sentence here would be, he is sweet and helpful, but moody. Okay, so that's what makes this parallel. Exercise 2. Jack not only hated football, but also baseball. All right, let's look at the structure of this sentence. So Jack is the subject, and then we're setting up this comparison with not only, but also. So whatever follows each of these terms, not only, but also, has to be parallel to what follows the other one. So in this case, we have the verb hated following not only, and we have the direct object football following it. However, looking at but also, again, which has to be parallel to the construction with not only, does not include a verb. It only has the direct object baseball. So there are two ways of fixing this. Let's look at the first one. Jack not only hated football, but also hated baseball. Okay. So the easiest way, and this will always be correct, is if something is missing in the second part here that's in the first one, just make sure you add it to the second part. So repeating the verb hated in front of the direct object baseball will make it grammatically parallel. So again, that's the simplest way. It's always going to be correct. There is a slightly more sophisticated solution to this. In order not to have to repeat the verb hated here, what we can do is move it directly behind the subject Jack. So here we have Jack hated, so subject and verb, and then we have these two direct objects, and we're comparing them by using not only, but also. So the sentence could have also been Jack hated football and baseball. That's, again, a grammatically correct alternative. However, if we're trying to emphasize that he hates not only this, but also that, then we have to use that construction. It's for emphasis more than anything else. Okay? But again, we have subject and verb, and then the rest of the construction is also parallel because each direct object is followed not only, but also. All right, exercise 3. She was independent, yet felt a loneliness too. All right, let's take a look at this sentence. She was independent, yet felt a loneliness too. So she is the subject, was the verb. Independent is an adjective, yet is a coordinating conjunction. And then we have this phrase, felt a loneliness too. So it is not grammatically parallel because we have an adjective here and a phrase there. So again, to make this parallel, we have to convert felt a loneliness too into a single adjective that can be parallel to the adjective independent. So the solution here would be, she was independent yet lonely. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind here, sometimes when students do this on the quiz, they will write, she was independent yet lonely too. That is changing the meaning slightly, because if we say she was independent yet lonely too, that implies that we're comparing her to someone else who's also independent and lonely, which we're not trying to do here. All we're trying to say is she was independent yet lonely. Okay? So make sure you eliminate all unnecessary language to make it truly as parallel and as clear as it can be. Exercise 4. He neither wants to take out the trash nor wash the dishes. So here we have the sentence, he neither wants to take out the trash nor wash the dishes. So let's break this down. He is the subject, and then we're trying to compare two things he doesn't want to do with neither and nor. So again, whether it's either or, not only but also, whatever follows each of these words has to be grammatically parallel to the other. So, neither is followed by wants to take out the trash, nor is followed by wash the dishes. So, both have a verb, the first one to take out, the second wash. Each has a direct object, the first one the trash, the second the dishes, but the first one also has the auxiliary verb or helping verb once. The second one, anything that follows the word nor, does not. Okay, so that's why it is not parallel. Okay, so again, the easiest way to fix it is to add whatever is missing from the second one and is found in the first one to the second one. In this case, the solution would be, he neither wants to take out the trash nor wants to wash the dishes. That's grammatically correct. So in each phrase following neither or nor, we have a helping verb or auxiliary verb, an actual verb, and a direct object. Okay, so that will always be correct. However, there's again a more elegant, slightly more sophisticated solution to that. We can move the auxiliary verb once to the beginning of the sentence following the subject because it modifies both of these phrases. So we could say, he wants, so subject, auxiliary verb, and then the comparison with neither nor. He wants neither to take out the trash nor to wash the dishes. So those would both be correct revisions of the original sentence. Exercise 5. To succeed, students must study, do their homework, and coming to class is important. All right, let's break down this sentence. So to succeed is a verb. Students is the subject here. Must, again, is an auxiliary verb or helping verb. Study is a verb. Do is a verb. There is a pronoun. Homework is a direct object. And is a coordinating conjunction. And then coming to class is important, is a phrase. So what we need to do here is to make this grammatically parallel. To succeed, the verb students must study, do their homework, and come to class. So it's not completely parallel in the sense that there's nothing following study, but at least each of the three phrases at the end starts clearly with a verb in the same tense. So that is acceptable. Exercise 6. She described her uncle as short, skinny, and he has no hair on his head. So let's look at this sentence. So she is a subject, described is the verb. Her uncle is the direct object. And then we get the series of descriptions because she's describing him. So short is an adjective, skinny is an adjective, and is a coordinating conjunction, and then we have an independent clause. He has no hair on his head. So since we have short and skinny as adjectives, we now need to create an adjective to make it parallel to those two adjectives. We have to convert he has no hair on his head to a single adjective. So the correct sentence would be, She described her uncle as short, skinny, and bald.